Hello, everyone. I'm Jamie Domm, and thank you for having me today. We're going to talk about how to move members from online viewership to active digital discipleship. So let's get started. All right, for today's discussion, we're going to cover the landscape of the digital mission field, how to transition your viewers from digital disciples through reframing and certain commitments they can make. And then we're going to get into those practical nuts and bolts of what it means to be a digital disciple. Now, one of my favorite quotes at the moment is, if necessity is the mother of invention, then discontent is the father of progress. You see, COVID has forever changed the way we relate to technology. So when we finally do emerge past this crisis, it will be to a new normal. It has sped up adaptation for technologies to a matter of weeks and not decades. It has forever changed the way we use digital tools and technologies for daily life, for relationships, education, worship, work, and fitness. Social media is the ultimate equalizer. We now all have a voice, and with that comes the enhanced ability to participate in discipleship and evangelism. You don't need permission to start sharing the gospel or connecting with others or using your influence to improve the lives of others. But we must be discontent with the status quo. It is not enough to live stream your service. We need an active and engaged church body that is using their influence for good. And I believe that God is using COVID to move us into the digital mission field. When COVID first hit, I heard this criticism over and over and over again online from non-believers and skeptics. Where is your God now? Well, my God is on the move while we are stuck at home. And I believe that God has closed the church doors so we can figure out how to do church without the building, so we can extend the worship experience, that church community, faith community experience beyond the confines of time and space in a building to a 24/7 kingdom that is actively meeting the needs, the physical needs, the spiritual needs, the emotional needs of its community. So we must reignite the spirit of the early Adventist church, that grassroots movement that starts with individual members. See, the apostolic church took the gospel to new regions out of necessity when they were fleeing persecution. So too today, I believe God is using COVID so that we can jump fully committed into the digital mission field. And I think this is an exciting time. And a lot of people say, but isn't social media dangerous? Well, I'm going to ask a question back. When has danger ever kept us from the physical mission field? Now, this actually reminds me of a story from Exodus 4, where God asked Moses, "What is in your hand?" And what was in Moses' hand was a shepherd's staff. It was a tool, neither good nor bad. It was neutral. It could be used for bad. It could be used to cause harm, or it could be used to protect sheep and to lead them. But the interesting thing is, with God in the mix, it was used to perform miracles and to lead God's children out of the bondage of slavery in Egypt. So too today, we all have something in our hand. And I believe that God is asking us to use it for his kingdom. It is neither good nor bad. It depends on how we use it. And I believe this is critical because we actually spend 3 times as much time socializing online as we do in person. And now keep in mind, these numbers are pre-COVID. The new numbers haven't come out yet. So simply put, we have more opportunity to socialize and engage with people online than we do in person. The average person spends anywhere between 9 and 18 hours a day behind a screen. That is a lot of opportunity to reach them. This is why this is important. And the fact of the matter is, even before COVID, only 20% of even professed Christians attended church on a regular basis. So how do we reach the other 80%? Our content, our voice in the digital mission field may be the only experience they have with the gospel on a daily basis. And what about the unchurched? What about the unaffiliated? What about the nuns? This is an opportunity to reach people where they are with what they're actually needing versus what we assume or what we think they need. Because people, my friend, are literally Googling for God. Each year, there are millions of searches to answers to questions like, is God real? What happens when we die? And so on. If we view the digital mission field like we view the physical mission field, then we can embrace this idea of cultural empathy to go where people are, to speak the language they speak within the cultural norms and expectations of each platform. We must create content that matches how people want to consume content. And this is sort of the foundation of the digital discipleship and evangelism model. So the question is, we understand the need. The mission field is wide open. We just need disciples. So how do we transition our members from viewers, from not even pew warmers anymore, but to digital disciples actively engaged using their influence? The Bible tells us to become and to make disciples. He calls us each to serve in unique ways. I'm asking you to find ways to empower members to engage in ministry in ways that align with their passion, their spiritual gifts, their tools of preference, and their personal style. This is particularly important for youth. So what we need to do is we need to actually reframe how we view our time spent in the digital space. Instead of going online to waste time to only share about our own lives, is we need to go online and be intentional. And you'll hear me say this word a lot: intentional. Pay attention to the posts of other people. Be strategic with what kind of content you share, with what kind of conversations you have, and how you reach out to people, to proactively reach out to friends online or via digital tools, to stay engaged, to invest in people's lives, and then to take action in appropriate and meaningful ways. Because what starts in the digital space, my friends, is not limited to the digital space. And we're going to go into actual practical examples of what that looks like. So you might be asking, but what really is a digital disciple? So if we look at the digital disciple and evangelism model, you have content creators, you have engagement, you have care, you have people care, community care, whatever you want to call it, and you have this aspect of distribution. A digital disciple can encompass, 1, 2, or 3 of these, but it's anybody who advances the gospel message in a digital space around a digital need or by utilizing a digital tool. And you will be getting these slides, by the way, at the end of the presentation. So don't worry about taking screenshots and frantically taking notes. But we should, as much as possible, intersect between the digital world and the real world, that whenever possible, we should find ways to impact people's lives in a real and meaningful way through these digital tools and technologies to meet their mental, physical, and spiritual needs. We can build genuine relationships with people and then invite them to follow Christ and adopt his principles. That is a digital disciple. And basically what I'm saying is, whoever you have in your congregation, even if they're older, 70% of adults, regardless of their age, are on Facebook. The fastest growing demographic is actually 55 plus on Facebook. And the point is this: it doesn't matter if they have 4 followers or 40,000 followers. They have influence, and how they use that influence matters. And that's how we can train and equip them to be meaningful and impactful digital disciples, by teaching them how to use that influence. And so here are some digital disciple commitments you can work with your congregation to accept. If you notice, these are actually very, very similar to the NAD's growingfruitfuldisciples.com. They're just modernized because these are biblical principles. At the end of the day, nothing has changed. It's just the new mission field. And when we start thinking of it as a mission field, as a place to go and a place to share the gospel, we can see that we don't need to change our messages. We just need to adapt to a new technology, a new tool. And so those commitments for the congregation are to build networks, to build community, to look for ways to attend to people's needs within that community, to respond in merciful and relevant ways, to actually listen more than we speak, to act compassionately, to pray for the Holy Spirit to guide you, to use your influence to tell the world about Jesus and share the gospel, to give a reason for your faith when you're asked, to always reflect Christ in digital spaces, to use your influence to share your own personal story, and of course, always be humble, honest, and transparent. So here are the practical tips for how your members can build community online using digital influence to share the gospel and improve the well-being of others. So I actually have 5 things to share with you. But before we kick off, I just want to say that the number one reason efforts are unable to succeed is because they lack clear direction. So I highly recommend, if this is new for your members, for your congregation, that you ask them to choose one purpose and then think creatively about how they can use their influence and time spent in the digital space to fulfill that purpose. And the type of purposes that they can choose from are just general things like create awareness to let people know about services and opportunities to share the gospel and spread our messages of hope and wholeness. So they can actually engage in something that we call digital door knocking to help spread our messages. And we'll unpack that a bit in a moment. And they can minister to those in need. So they can use digital tools and technologies to meet the needs of those express needs that people have inside the church and in the broader community. So we're talking simple things like, I lost my job and I can't get groceries. Okay, cool. I'll Cash App you some money, or I'll order some groceries for you online. Just really practical human to human interactions. And of course, your ultimate goal may be to grow participation and community through these digital tools and technologies, through, digital Bible studies and Sabbath schools and other ways of participation and prayers group. So ultimately, a digital disciple wants to, touch upon all 4 of these purposes, but to get started, pick one and really focus on it. Now, the foundation of digital discipleship is a biblical model. It is Jesus's model. And again, this is, what did Jesus do? Jesus sought first to fulfill people's needs, then he bid them come and follow. So we've been going about digital communications all wrong. We like to use it to just invite people to programs, physical programs, or to announce what we're doing. So that is not what Jesus did. He didn't walk around saying, hey guys, I have a Sermon on the Mount coming up. We're going to cover the Beatitudes. Invite a friend. He sought their needs, the expressed felt need they had in that moment. Then he bid them come and follow. So I'm asking us to flip it on its head and actually meet people where they are first. Now, how do you get started? So whether it's via text, email, Facebook, Instagram, etc., connect with the people within your faith community and beyond, because you can't reach them and make them aware of your ministry, your services, etc., if they aren't connected to you. You can't get to know them if they're not connected to you. So build a network of ways to connect with people. Go where they spend their time. Train your members to be intentional about reaching out to their neighbors, connecting with them online, connecting with people of different generations, and really paying attention and connecting with their content and being purposeful. Again, you don't need to connect with hundreds of people. Just connect with 4. Oftentimes I tell people, just pick 4 or 5 people, or maybe even just start with 3 if this is overwhelming for you. Pick a few people, connect with them, and invest in them. And we're going to talk more about that investing. So a lot of people ask, well, what does community building look like in the digital space? Again, all these concepts are built upon biblical models of outreach and evangelism, but digital technologies allow us to listen more closely to our community and to scale up traditional friendship evangelism. And we can meet people's needs and stay connected every day of the week. It's easy to send a text, it's easy to send an email, it's easy to check someone's social media profile, because every opportunity to connect is an opportunity to advance the kingdom of God. And I love this quote. People share an amazing amount of personal information online. And what we know is that being listened to is so close to being loved that most people cannot tell the difference. So instead of focusing on self and your selfies, go online, train your members to listen, to engage, and invest in others. Go online with the intention to listen to what people are sharing as a means to build relationships. Train them to let people know that they are truly interested in their lives and that they care and that they are with them on the journey. And again, just ask them to pick, 3 to 5 people. Just pick a few people, identify them, and that you think that they think they can reach with their influence, whatever that is. Again, text, WhatsApp, whatever social media platform, because their goal is to understand a real need to better understand people so that they can fulfill those real needs, and you can scale up that friendship evangelism using these digital tools and technologies. A lot of people, when they hear this, they might say, oh, I'm kind of already doing it. That's great. But now we need you to be more intentional. Go online, listen to people's lives, socialize with them online, take the time to engage, use your digital tools to inform and invite friends to opportunities, take advantage of opportunities to serve, take advantage of if people are expressing that they're in distress, they lost a loved one, they need help with moving, whatever it might be, there are ways to help them. With COVID, I know some people who actually lost their jobs, and so I saw that message, and I actually offered to help them with their resumes because I have a background in marketing. Now, everybody has something to offer another person. And so when you go online with that intention that you have something that you can do to improve the well-being of another person, you can really start thinking strategically about this as a ministry. And of course, you can use digital tools to follow up and stay in contact with people. Now, building off of this, you can really dig into what it means to build relationships and trust. So once you understand those felt needs and invest the time, you can build or you can strengthen those relationships by letting people know that you're on the journey. And Ellen White talks about this really beautiful concept called benevolent disinterest, where you do good to do good with no ulterior motive, meaning you're not going to help them with groceries. You're not going to go pick up, something for them because maybe they're housebound or whatever and drop it off at their house only if they then attend your Bible study. You're going to do it because it's the right thing to do, because Jesus tells us to minister to others to improve the well-being of others. And so no strings attached. We're just going to start serving. And I love this quote. We can show people through our actions online and in person through digital tools and technologies that we see them, that we care about them, and that we're there for them. We can rejoice with those who rejoice, and we can weep with those who weep. And part of this is, more than just lip service, more than just a text. This is taking action. We can demonstrate our care and intentions to our faith community or those you are trying to reach. It's actually never been easier. We don't even have to leave the house to share Jesus's love with someone. So some practical tips. Always ask yourself, when you go online, when you're going into the digital space, when your members are going into the digital space, ask yourself, what prayers can I answer by simply paying attention? So pay attention, take time each day to engage in people's posts and search for ways to practically help. Ask questions, respond in a meaningful way. And sometimes that might mean, taking it to a direct message or texting them if it's something really personal and you want to help them. Really seek to understand the felt needs of every individual. Don't assume what they need. Ask them what they need. Pray for them. Even send them a recorded prayer, because it's so much more impactful. If they don't want to talk to you over the phone, or they're too busy, or they're in crisis, but send them recorded prayers and they can hear you petitioning God on their behalf. Take that meaningful action, and then of course follow up for as long as necessary. And I like to say, rinse and repeat as long as necessary. The other ways to build trust are, of course, always be open, objective, honest. Don't hide your faith, your causes, or involvement in ministries. Always respect other people's privacy and model that behavior in all you do and post. And of course, be vulnerable. Be open and honest about your faith journey and what God has done in your life, and the mistakes that you've made. And that just makes you relatable. It makes you human. It makes you authentic. You're not one-dimensional. You're a full person. People are drawn to personalities when they see you as a full and complete person, and they can see themselves in a similar situation or in your faith or whatever. When you share your life, your faith becomes less foreign. You can be consistent. with your how you are in person and online. This is actually a personal branding concept. So ask yourself, am I always reflecting Jesus online and in person? Do they get the same person that they experience in person, or am I a different person online? So really think about that. And I challenge that among our membership, because unfortunately, with all the politics and all the controversy and all the chaos, people will say things online that they would never say to someone's face. And that should just never be the case as a Christian, as a disciple representing Christ. Be consistent in your faith walk. Always reflect Christ. And again, every opportunity to connect is an opportunity to advance the kingdom of God. Don't push people away. So then once you've connected with people online, you've begun to build relationships and trust, then you can really seek to tend to their felt needs as Jesus did. And what's really amazing about this is, we all have ideas about what we feel people need, but we can actually follow Jesus' example and meet people where they are. We can listen. We can create or curate content that speaks to those needs, or we can take action because something we post could be that aha moment. And what's really crazy about this, guys, is we can literally save lives, because when you look at the 8 root causes of the 10 leading causes of death, I see 8 ways that individual members of the church body, could be ministering to people. We could literally save lives, because the issues here are meaningless existence, low self-esteem or self-worth. If we're sharing our message of hope and wholeness, if we're sharing messages that let people know that they are created in the image of God and they are a child of God, then you have purpose, you have meaning, you have value. And that's just one example. You have loneliness and social isolation. Reach out to people. Internal, external stress. Find ways to alleviate helplessness and emotional despair. We have the ministry of healing. We have, the voice of prophecy. We have the entire gospel. Economic disparity. This is something we can alleviate as individuals, and lack of information or education. These are all things that we can be tending to. Now for the 4th part, this is where you get to sharing the gospel, and we start thinking of content as mission, and that every single person is a distribution center. Every single person is a mouthpiece for the gospel, and using their influence to reach more people, because people are searching online for answers to their questions. We should be the voice that answers back, because ultimately we do not have a message problem. We have the gospel. We have the greatest story ever told of Christ's birth, life, self-sacrificing death, resurrection, and soon return. We have the ministry of healing. We have the 3 angels' message. We have the voice of prophecy. We do not have a message problem. We have a distribution problem. We have 20 million members worldwide, and we have, over like half the planet is on social media. We should not have a distribution problem. And so this begins with every member engaging in something I call digital door knocking. And that is where they just share spiritual content through their social media profiles, through text, through messaging apps, through email, to create an opportunity for people to engage with them about their faith. And the great thing about this is that social media, these digital tools, these technologies, texting people, whatever, allows us to share our faith and engage with our community when it's convenient for them. Because when it's convenient for them might be midnight, it might be 2:15 in the afternoon, it might be 7:18 in the evening, but it allows our audience to self-select whether or not they want to engage and when they are able to engage. In our busy, chaotic world, this is super important. Now, every member, they can create content if they want to share their personal stories or share their reflections or a message that's speaking to them or something specific to their community. I absolutely encourage that. But the burden of content creation is not on everyone. They can simply curate content. They can share content in their newsfeed from other ministries, from their local churches, from pastors they follow, from ministries they follow. They can help be that engine of distribution. And when they share, they can ask, how how will our audience's attitude or perceptions of God themselves or their situation change because of this piece of content? So again, that idea of being intentional, like when I share this content, what goal am I helping to achieve with, with the people who are connected to me, who will receive this in their newsfeed? And we can share stories, and stories are so powerful. Again, biblical examples. Jesus told parables, and stories are powerful because they're easy to remember. They never tell us what to think, they cause us to think, and they don't tell us what to feel. They cause us to feel. And those personal testimonies are always incredibly powerful and incredibly touching for people and can draw people to their faith. This is only a sampling of what you can do for digital door knocking. You could forward emails, texting, sharing content from other ministries, like I said, live streaming things, Bible studies, whatever. Even if they want to be super passive, they can just hit like, love, or wow on Facebook post. I just mentioned Facebook because most common platform, but there's plenty of other platforms that they can engage with content to help its organic distribution. They can post to community apps, and of course they can just connect with their neighbors, share their faith, or even just follow and support Christian groups online. The last part of this, number 5, is we need to be accessible and responsive. We need to be the voice that answers back. So train our members to treat online conversations like face-to-face conversations, because people feel safe behind their screens. So when they reach out to you, don't leave them waiting, fearful that you have rejected them or judged them or whatever. I have so many conversations going on via text in my direct messages on 3 different social media platforms with different people talking about spiritual content. I have specific people that I'm always praying for. And, those conversations just keep going on and on and on. And some tips for that is to just give options, make it easy for people to reach out to you in your network, especially those maybe those 3 or 5 people that your members have identified that they want to minister to you. Make sure they're checking daily. If they're one of those people that have 1,000 unread messages in their inbox and in their direct message, it is time to Marie Kondo and tidy up their inbox so that they can see those messages when they come in. So build those healthy habits. And of course, responding quickly. Don't leave people hanging, especially if it's a really personal issue. If they're asking for prayer, let them know that they have been heard, that you are praying for them. And if it's something that requires a really thoughtful response, that you're going to get back to them and give them some kind of time frame. And I want to just kind of end this with, when we're training our disciples, we're training our congregation to be a reach vehicle for souls. This is going to be more of a long tail game. So we have to quit thinking like those short, quick, big wins where we, baptize people in a couple of weeks. That'll occasionally happen, but we need to think of that long-term measure for success, those long-term wins. And so we have to ask different questions to gauge success. So ask your members, how many times have they shared the love of Christ through their digital influence? How many conversations do they start or engage with on social media? Are they painting a more authentic picture of themselves, the faith, or their church? Are they building meaningful relationships? Do they better understand the needs of people they're connected with? And have they found meaningful and practical ways to actually help people in the real world in a meaningful way? And I want to end with this quote. I love it. It's from a colleague of mine, Erica Jones, Women's Ministries. She says, when we offer a place where people can share without fear of condemnation, where we listen more than we talk, where our advice stems from understanding and compassion rather than moral judgments, they find that the church faith is relevant. Every single member is the church, not just the corporate entity, not just the pastor, but every single member is the church body. And we need to become the church that is listening, that is engaged, that is seeking to improve the well-being of their community in meaningful ways. And we can all be distribution centers, a loud voice for the gospel message, a loud voice for the 3 angels message throughout the world. Because if we had 20 million members throughout the world sharing Christ's truth, the truth of his soon coming and urgency, then we could be that loud voice. So if you're interested, get the book, Digital Discipleship and Evangelism. It's available in print and digital on Advent Source and Amazon. You can learn more at the link, jdim.digital/book, or you can contact me there too.